food of our diet. What are they? The carbohydrates, the proteins, the fruits, the vegetables, all of these things are there in our diet. And we need it very importantly, right? Now, in order to increase the amount of food that is produced, we can do so in a qualitative manner and a quantitative manner. Now, qualitative is when we increase the quality of the food. Quantitative is when we increase the amount or the number of food products that are produced. Now, when we talk about the components of our diet, so there are cereals like wheat, rice, maize, millet, sorghum, all of these, they like the cereals in general, they are a great source of carbohydrates, extremely rich source of carbohydrates. And we know that carbohydrates, they are the energy giving food. They provide us the energy. Then there are pulses. Now, pulses, these are like all the dal that we have in our diet, and they are great source of protein. Then there are different kinds of oils extracted from different kinds of the seeds and stuff, and that is also used for like as a source of fat in our diet. Then the fruit, the fruits and the vegetables that are there, they are the protective foods that are important for what? They are important for providing our body the immunity that it requires. This much is clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Also, other than all of this, the plants, they are also used to feed the livestock, to feed the domesticated animals. And in order to feed them, such oats, Sudan grasses, bee seam, all of these are the plants that are used for it. Now, depending upon the season and depending upon when it is harvested, the crops, they are of two types, kharif crops and rabi crops. Now, kharif crops are the ones that are grown in the rainy season, and the season of this kharif crop would be June to October. The examples, rice, pigeon pea, maize, cotton, black gram. Then there is the rabi crop. Now, rabi crop is grown like during the winter season from November to April. And they are the wheat, the mustard, linseed, gram, all of these are the rabi crops. Now, why do we do this crop improvement? Because we want to improve the variety. We want to manage the way the crops are produced, and we also want to protect them. Also, the crops that must be made, they must be disease resistant. They must utilize the nutrients from the fertilizers in a better manner. They must have a high quality product, meaning all of the things that we get from them, it must be in a very good and a high quality. So that is all of the things that we require from it. Now, moving forward, when we talk about hybridization. Now, hybridization is the process in which what we do is we take two superior varieties and then we cross them together in order to get a superior offspring. For example, if there is like crop A that has higher disease resistant, and then there is crop B that has a higher what? Let's just say it has a better nutrient absorption availability. So the crop C that will be formed from this particular crop, so it will have all of the things that are needed, right? It will have all of the things that both of these crops separately had. So that will be present. Now, this hybridization, it is a plant breeding technique, and it involves the crossing of two or more superior plants to produce a new plant that has all the desirable characters. And it's very important if you want to get a superior variety. Apart from that, the genetic modification of the plants can also be done in order to get this particular the desired quality of the plant. So we can modify the genes so as to get superior varieties. Now, why do we do this improvement? To get higher yield, to get the improved quality of the plant. Also, Like what are the improved qualities? Like the baking quality in the wheat, the protein quality in the pulses, oil quality in the oil seeds, then preserving quality in fruits and vegetables. All of these things must be there. Also, biotic and abiotic resistance, meaning biotic resistance is the resistance from the living things like pathogens, microbes, insects. Abiotic resistance will be from the non-living things like drought, salinity, waterlogging, all of these things. Now the plants can also be, improved for a wider adaptability, meaning they must be able to adapt in any situation that comes through. Maybe you take them to a different location and then also they must survive. The desired trait, like we want a plant of a certain height, the different kind of fruiting patterns, all of these things would be the desired traits. Now, to improve the production of crops, we use three different things. Nutrient management we do proper irrigation, and then we also see the cropping patterns. Now, nutrient management, because we know that nutrients, like every living organism, requires nutrients so as to grow, so as to be better. So when we talk about the management of the nutrients, so we will see what are the sources of these elements and where do they get them from. So from the air, carbon, oxygen gases are received. From the water, like the water is a great source of hydrogen and oxygen. Soil. Now, soil is the greatest source for the macronutrients and the micronutrients, meaning those nutrients that are required in a larger amount and those that are required in a smaller amount. Both can be obtained from the soil. The examples are right in front of you. The nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, all of these are macronutrients. Iron, zinc, copper, all of these are the micronutrients. Now, if these nutrients are deficient in a plant, it means that the growth of the plant will slow down, it will be retarded, and all of that. Clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the deficiency of these nutrients, it will affect the physiology, meaning the body function of the plant, like the normal body function, like normal growth, reproduction, all of these things can be affected. Now, talking about the supply of the nutrients, there is manure. Now, manure is the organic matter that is formed by decomposition process. So, when the animal excreta or the plant waste, these things are decomposed, then the manure is formed. Just 1 second, students. So, like the plant excreta, these things are decomposed in order to make the manure. Now, manure helps in improving the quality of the soil, and it like provides the plant the available all the nutrients that it might require. Talking about the forms of manure, there is compost, vermicompost, green manure. All of these things are the different forms of manure, like composting. Now, what is composting is when we take the waste like kitchen waste, excreta, and all of these things, and we put it into a pit. Pit is like a like a big hole dug in the ground, and then we store those things in it and wait for it to decompose and become the manure. So this process is called as composting. And when this process is done using the earthworms, then that is called as the vermicomposting. Then we have the green manure. So here, when some plants only are used to basically be used as a manure. So that is what we call as a green manure. Clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now moving forward. So when we talk about the next thing, that is fertilizer. Now see, the manure, since they are naturally prepared, so they do not need to they're not fast, okay, and they are slowly prepared. So what is the faster option for this? Fertilizers. These are the chemical, you can say, nutrients that is given to the plant, and it is prepared commercially in factories. So it provides a lot of phosphorus and potassium to the plant, but it's that if we use it in excessive amount, then that will become very detrimental to the plant. It will cause all the degradation in the plant and pollute the soil, pollute the water. But when it is used in the right amount, it will be perfect for the growth of the crop. It has a very positive impact when used in the right amount. Now they are, if like they are only for short term benefit, but in the long term, they are only and only harmful in variety of the way. So the best solution for this is organic farming, where we do not use any kind of chemicals like fertilizers, pesticides, all of these things when it is avoided. So that is what we call as the organic farming. Now, in the organic farming, we use bioagents like biofertilizers, wherein certain microorganisms are used to fertilize the soil. Okay, this is what is done. Apart from that, antimicrobial, antibacterial properties, all of these like neem and turmeric leaves also they have, and they are used as biopesticides. So here we are using all natural means and not polluting the soil at all. Also, different cropping patterns also help us to maintain the good quality of the soil, and it's also organic to the nature. Then irrigation. Now, irrigation is the process of providing water to the field. So, irrigation here, the water is supplied to the land or the crops. It can be done by wells, canals, river lift system, tanks. Now, the wells, they are of two types, dug wells and tube wells. The dug wells, the conventional well that we know. Here, this thing. A bucket is used to draw water from the underground dug, like it is 30 meters deep, and here water is taken out with the help of a bucket. Then tube wells. Now, tube wells are the ones they are used like when the pipes are bored into the ground to draw the water from the underground water table. So that is what we call as dug well. Then canals. Now canals, it's when like different reservoirs are connected as one, and then the water is distributed in the whole entire field. So that is what we call as canal. But when the canals are not enough to draw the water for irrigation, then what is used? River lift system. Here, the water is directly taken from the rivers. Just excuse me for 1 second, students. Then the last one is the tank. Now tanks, these are the ones wherein the water is stored and then it is drawn out from the tanks whenever it is required. So these are the different methods of irrigation. Now talking about the cropping patterns. So here the patterns, the different varieties of ways by which we can, what do? We plant the seed in such a way that maximum nutrient utilization will be taking place. So mixed cropping and intercropping and crop rotation, these are the different methods of cropping patterns. So mixed cropping, when two or more crops are grown simultaneously on the same piece of land, we call it as mixed cropping, meaning two crops grown same piece of land. Intercropping is when different types of crops are grown on the same land with different nutritional requirement, meaning their food requirements are different, like soya bean, maize, finger millet, and cowpea. So the selection is done so that they do not compete with each other and they live in a harmonious manner. Talking about the benefits of this, it will prevent the diseases, prevent the pest, and also maximum utilization of the nutrients will be done. Talking about the crop rotation. So crop rotation, like the name only suggests, for example, one type of crop is grown on the land, and then when that is done, another type of crop is grown on the same piece of land. So that is crop rotation. So the rotations can be 1 year rotation, 2 years rotation, 3 years rotation. The factors that affect or decide the crop will be the availability of moisture, irrigation, and it can also yield good harvest of the crops. Any doubts up until now, students?
No, ma'am.
What about the others?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, crop protection management. How can we protect the crops that we are growing? So there are a lot of things that can affect our crops, like the weed, the insect, pest, and variety of diseases. Now, weeds, they are the unwanted wild plants. Now, they deprive the normal plants from the nutrients. Okay, so we have to remove them from the field. And in order to remove them from the field, what we can do? We can mechanically pluck them from the field. Other than that, we can use weedicides. Some of the examples of the weeds will be Xanthium, Parthenium, Cyperinus rotundus. And the removal of these weeds, it's very important. Why? Because they can make the normal crop sick by taking all of their nutrients. So a proper seed bed must be there and the crops must be planted in a timely fashion. And if just in case the weeds are much more in number, then it has to be removed by using chemicals like weedicides. Now, insects and pests. Now, insects, they can eat the root, stem, leaves of the plant. They can suck the sap of the plant and make the yield very bad. So what we can do? We can increase the yield by using insecticides, pesticides to kill them. Now, there are so many disease-causing organisms in the plants like the bacteria, the fungi, the viruses. They cause multiple different types of diseases in the plants. So, these are the pathogens of the plants, meaning they cause diseases in them. So, how do we control all of them? By using weedicides, by using pesticides, herbicides, all of these things can be utilized so as to kill these pathogens. Apart from that, talking about the different types of the diseases that are caused in the plant. So it would be parasitic diseases, then infectious diseases, all of those diseases can be there. So now the weedicides, all fungicides, all of these things can be sprayed into the soil or it can be applied to the seed while planting it. So that can be done. It can also be sprayed on the plant. Now talking about the storage of grains. So after all of these things are done, now we have successfully yielded a good crop variety. Now we have to store it because it's a lot. So the storage areas must be properly made so as to not make these, you can say, the plants get destroyed. or you can say get old or bad. So we have to protect like these plants very much. So due to the attack from the pest or the waterlogging situation, there can be like the food grains can be destroyed, and that is called as storage loss. And if storage loss is happening, so degradation of the quality would happen, loss in the weight of the plant would happen, the seed will have poor germination, and the crops will be discolored. Because of all of these reasons, the crop will not be able to be marketed, the grain will not be sold. So what should we do to prevent this loss? Cleaning the storage, then like drying of the produce like the grain in the sunlight, fumigation, meaning smoke can be used to kill the insects and the pests around. Then the godowns and the safe, like the places where they are stored, it must be clean, properly aerated, and no water should be reaching it. Other than that, the chemical control can be done, meaning the places or the bags in which the grains are kept, they can be made in such a way that they do not get, you can say, harmed, and the gunny bags can be, you can say, supplied or sprayed with the chemicals that kill the pests and the insects. This much is clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now moving forward, talking about animal husbandry. Now, animal husbandry is when we use the animals, we domesticate them, and we get products and income out of them. Those are all. This is also called as animal farming. So, like breeding health, disease control, and proper economic use, all of these things requires proper planning for it. The examples of the animals that are raised in the animal husbandry would be cow, bull, ox, buffalo. Then there is yak, horses, goats, sheep, camel, and donkey. So first we'll discuss cattle farming. So cattle farming is when we raise the cattle for milk and for labor. So labor means agricultural work such as tilling, irrigation, carting, all of these would be the agricultural work for under the heading labor. Now the Indian cattle will be Bos indicus for cow and Bos bubalis for the buffaloes. Now those cattle that produce the milk, we call them as the milch animals, and those that produce the labor, like we get labor out of them, we call them as the draught animals. Now the question comes that, okay, if it is a milch animal, meaning it produces milk, so how can we increase the milk production? More milk production means more generation of income. So the milk production of the milching animals, it depends on the lactation period. So if the lactation period is increased, the milk production will also increase simultaneously. Other than that, there are certain exotic or the foreign breeds of the cattle that have long lactation period. The Indian varieties, they have disease resistance. So if we do hybridization of them, so it means that we will get a variety that have both the superior character. The exotic varieties would be Jersey cow, the brown Swiss, and the local varieties would be red Sindhi and Sahiwal. Then comes the farm management, like this cattle husbandry place wherein the cattle is grown. So that must be properly cleaned. Regular brushing of the animals must be done so that the dirt is removed from their body, the loose hair is removed from their body. Proper vaccination must be provided so as to protect them from any kind of diseases. Now, their food requirements also is very different for milch animals and for the the draught animals. So the components of their diet will be roughage, fibers, concentrate, other nutrients, water. All of these things must be provided in a proper manner so as to get the best out of them. If the poor quality feed is there, then the cows and buffaloes would suffer like that. Now the cattle diseases. The disease can be parasitic, it can be infectious, non-infectious. Now the parasitic one can be endoparasitic disease or ectoparasite. Now bacteria and the viruses, just like how they cause diseases in human beings, they also cause disease in the cattle. So those diseases caused by them, they are communicable diseases or infectious diseases. Whereas the parasitic diseases, they are caused by the parasites like the ticks, lices, fleas. Now the parasites, if they are present inside the body, we call them as endoparasite, internal parasite, and they destroy the internal organs of the cattle like the liver, intestine and all. Whereas the ectoparasites are the ones that are present on the body of the animal. So they damage the skin because they suck blood from that. So how do we manage it? We vaccinate them properly. Then there is poultry farming. So cattle farming is clear to all?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now moving forward, talking about poultry farming. So when we raise the fowls for egg and for meat, that is poultry farming. What all comes under poultry? We have chicken, turkeys, and then ducks, geese, all of them. Now there are again two categories, layers and the broilers. Now layers are the ones that are used for the production of egg and broilers are for the production of meat. Now, the Indian variety of the chicken is the seal and the foreign or the exotic variety is the leghorn. So, if we cross them together, we get a new variety that has superior desirable characters like more number of chicks, more quality, like better quality chicks, then high tolerance, like high temperature tolerance, low maintenance requirement, and also they would lay eggs in a very proper manner. Now again, the diet for the layers and the broilers will also be different because they are used for different purposes. So the broiler chicken, they are fed with vitamin A, vitamin K rich diet. So that their milk, like the meat is of good quality. Other than that, the poultry care that is done, it should be like housing, shelter and feed must be done nicely. The diseases of the poultry like the bacterial, fungal, viral diseases, they can be avoided by using vaccination or medicines. Also, cleaning, sanitation, disinfection, all of these things must be done regularly so as to check their health and everything related to that. So this was poultry farming. Then we have the fish production. Now fishes, they are a great source of animal protein, right? And the fishes, they can be marine fishes and freshwater fishes depending upon where they live. Now fishing, it is of two types. There is capture fishing and culture fishery. Capture fishing is when the fishing is done. Normally you take the pole or the net and then you fish out the fishes from the natural water body. Culture fishery is when you grow the fishes in the water body. Now, depending upon the water body marine fishes, these are your examples. There are pomfret, mackerel, tuna, sardines, and Bombay duck. Out of the marine fishes, there are some which have great value in terms of economy, like mullets, bhetki, pearl spots, oysters, then shellfishes, prawns, mussels, and seaweed. Oysters, they are cultivated for the production of pearl also. And always remember, if you compare the capture fishery and the culture fishery, the culture fishery is better than the capture fishery. Clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Now talking about the inland fishery, meaning the freshwater ones. So here, rohu, common carp, mrigas, grass carp, katla, These are the common varieties of the freshwater fishes. And depending upon like the layers of the water body, they feed accordingly so that everyone gets enough food. Like catlas, they are the surface feeders. Rohu, they feed in the middle of the pond. Mrigas and common carps, they are the bottom feeders. And grass carp, they feed on the weed. So different feeding habit is there so that there will be no competition. Clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Then we have beekeeping. Now, beekeeping is a very labor intensive, it's like perfect and very easy method to earn money. And we know beekeeping is done so as to obtain honey from them. And honey is sold in the market. It has so many nutritional value and therapeutic value. And it is a very low investment like practice, like beekeeping. And it's like an additional income source for the farmers. So if they have a land of flowers, so they can grow, like they can keep a beehive. So the bees will pollinate also and they'll produce honey. The variety of honeybee of India is Apis indica. Is it clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
So with this particular chapter revision has been done. Now tell me if you people have any doubts anywhere.
No, ma'am.
No doubts. What about the rest of you students?
No,
No
miss.
doubts. Okay. So we have completed this chapter. Now you all solve the questions from this chapter. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now you people can solve these MCQ questions.
Ma'am, done.
Everyone's done
Yes,
till
ma'am.
here? Okay.
Ma'am, done.
Ma'am, done.
Everyone's done?
I'm done. Ma'am, done.
Ma'am, done.
Can I scroll more?
Ma'am, done.
Can you scroll more? Done.
Everyone's done till here?
Yes, ma'am.